What is up, everybody? This is Joe Adams, and welcome to the Relentless Pursuit podcast. As always, we got my man Logan Hyder of Cinema 83 LLC in the house, doing all the production, the co-hosting, all the very important stuff that I couldn't do without him. So thank you, bro.
Thanks, sir.
And today we have a wonderful guest in the house, my man, Mr. Chad King. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, guys?
So
super excited to be here.
Yeah, stoked to have you, bro. Chad and I met several months ago. I forget even how we got connected.
Yeah, Brian Benton, I think is
Yeah, good old Brian. Yeah. Brian's been on the podcast before.
Old Brian and Rachel.
And we've had Brian's wife as well. Good. Now we got to get Jen on here sometime. You and Jen or Jen.
Yeah, just get ready for that hellstorm. She gonna bring the heat. She'll bring the heat.
Hey, I'm all for it. But yeah, and so he became one of my clients for personal training, and he's progressed very well. You know, he's getting some solid feedback at a big event last week, and they're like, "Dude, you're jacked." But
take it off.
In that time frame, we've become good friends, man. We've had a lot of great conversation. So I will let him introduce himself and tell you about what he does right now, and then we'll bring it back.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm currently a real estate investor. I started out of college. I started selling copiers for Xerox, so I was climbing that corporate ladder. And then I got into real estate full-time, started flipping houses back in the day is kind of how I started my real estate journey. So started flipping houses and then built that business up, and then ultimately got over into more of the passive income side, the generational wealth side of it, and started buying apartment complexes. And then I've been doing that for the last 6 years now. So just buying bigger and bigger buildings, and started to leverage some syndications, which is, you know, where you pool some money together to buy some bigger assets. So that's what I do now. And yeah, man, I'm just full-time entrepreneur. I do some coaching and some mentorship as well, and just trying to help others really, you know, break out of the rat race, achieve financial freedom for themselves, and just live, you know, overall like an independent life, and yeah, just become better versions of themselves. So.
Oh yeah, I love it. And you put out some good content. It's a lot. You know, it's not just real estate stuff. It's all, from what I hear, it's like mostly mindset based. But I think it takes the mindset first to even dive into things, because you got to start taking risks, you know?
Yeah. I think that mindset is sort of that base level that you have to have in order to do any sort of entrepreneurial, whether it's even intrapreneurial, like you can be an intrapreneur where you know, make a lot of money or build wealth within an organization too. So, but you have to have that mindset as sort of your foundation.
Exactly. So I don't give people specifics on that part, but I do. We're big on mindset here. Yeah. So getting the mind right to just go after, you know, be the best version of yourself overall. So
what other fight is there, right?
Exactly.
That's the best fight there is.
You just guide them in a very specific way. Mm-hmm. And it's awesome, man. How many apartments you got?
648 currently.
Jesus, apartment units. Oh shit! I didn't expect that.
We're buying and selling all the time. So we sold about 400 units in the last 24 months, just during this last peak. But we got 25 million in assets closing this month.
Nice.
So we have about 72 million under management, 8 different states.
I was about to ask if it's all in Tennessee. Gotcha.
Yeah, Tennessee, Alabama, Kentucky, Georgia, Florida, Carolina.
So this is very amateur level stuff. Just kidding.
No, I mean, it's like
he was about to light you up, bro. He was like, "What are you talking about?"
No, man, that's massive, dude. That's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a good little operation. I mean, we're still like long way to go. I try and always root myself. I'm very grateful for everything that we've been able to do, but like we're still got a very long way to go. Got some lofty goals, and everybody's at a different stage in the journey. So
nice. Well, at the end, I will elaborate on, like, you know, lofty goals and like what your pursuits are. But for now, let's take it back a little bit. Let's teach people who Chad King is. You know, they want to know you. So bring it back as far as you want. You know, just tell us about where you're from and whatnot. You know, and like what led you to where you're at today. And we'll bring you to some other things, man.
Interesting. That's a good question, because I'm on a lot of real estate podcasts, and we just dive straight into we drive straight into like the real estate stuff. So I've never had anybody actually say, "Well, why don't you take us back?"
Well, perfect example before you get started. It's like we had Brandon Curry on here, right? And he's known worldwide for winning the Olympia, being one of the top bodybuilders. And it was cool asking him his story, because he got really excited. I mean, he's telling us about his wife having 3 home births and how they met, and he was just getting all into these things, when typically he probably goes and they're like, "How much food do you eat? How many times a day do you train?" You know, right. But that's not what we want. Yeah, we want people to know who you are. So
sure. Yeah. So I grew up, my dad was in the military, and we moved around a lot when I was little. He was 30-year military man, retired captain, just badass guy, trained with the SEALs. He was most decorated helicopter pilot in the Navy.
Nice.
But he had always, preached. So naturally, he was really, I would say, tough on me when I was a kid. It's funny to watch him with my kids now, my children, because he's a granddad now.
He's like super
just
soft.
The softest soft serve ice cream there is. Whereas with me, like I just remember it being a lot different. So I was like a mama's boy naturally because my dad was just so tough on me. When I was 8 years old, he had me out there vacuuming helicopters, and every summer in between school, the first Monday after summer started, I'd report to my job that I had, and I'd work all summer and then go back to school.
When you were 8?
Since I was 8, he always had me doing something every summer. I mean, my first job, I was 15. I worked on a construction site, 15.
Damn.
Every summer, like freshman year ended, started working. So he always had put that hard work and integrity into my head.
Yeah.
So those are two of my core values.
You appreciate it now.
I was about to ask if you think that has a lot to do with
100%. Because core values, I talk a lot about core values when building businesses and when forming partnerships. Because when you start to scale a real estate portfolio like I have, you have to leverage partners. And what I look for in partners are core value match. So if and you and I feel that too, right? That's one of the reasons we get along is because our core values are very aligned, right? So I think I got those a lot from the beginning in my upbringing, especially from my dad. My mom gave me this amazing core value of stewardship, always wanting to help others, always wanting to serve others. And I'm a people person by nature, and I think I got that from my mom.
I get that from my mother as well.
Yeah. And then my dad really instilled the hard work and integrity, doing what you're going to say, even when no one's looking, just doing the right thing. And when you have hard work, integrity, and stewardship,
are those your core values?
Those are my main 3. Yeah.
Okay. What are the rest of them?
So extreme ownership, personal and professional development, are the other 2 main ones that I have. Like extreme ownership, because I think we live in this victim mentality. So everybody's that's kind of like rampant nowadays. So extreme ownership, it's a book by Jocko Willink. It's an amazing book. Amazing book. I highly recommend it. And it just basically talks about taking ownership for everything in your life, the good and the bad. Yeah. Everything in your life right now is a direct result of the decisions that you've made. Of course. Right. And giving control to anybody else is essentially just giving up control of your life. So taking ownership of everything, the good and the bad. And then, personal professional development is that last one, because I think it's the forever students that end up changing the world. Yeah. And self-education is far more important than traditional education, because traditional education is pretty much broken, right? So
without a doubt,
it's the self-education that happens after high school and after college that is really going to shape your life. And I think a lot of people think education stops at schooling, and you need to always be learning, be a forever student and always be in the lab trying to read books, gain information, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So that's my last one.
Yeah, hell yeah. I love that. It's astonishing how many people, I guess, they do stop at that line, and then they get their job and they go through, and then, they don't learn anything else. They dull their minds with TV or just stuff like that rather than that personal development, much like the gym or reading books and stuff. And there's so many, it's crazy to me how many people I know that just don't even read.
I know. That's why we're in this situation. Because I'm people asking questions and getting new information. Yeah. So, that was, that was kind of my upbringing. And then growing up, I was a little bit of a late bloomer. So I'm tall guy now, but in high school, I went into high school, I was 4'11", 90 pounds. So I got made fun of a lot.
4'11", 90 pounds.
Yeah, I have a picture, you wouldn't even recognize.
That is pretty small.
I was a small guy. So
you're 6'5" now?
Late bloomer, yes.
You're 6'5" now?
6'4".
You're 6'4", and you were 4'11".
Yeah, dude. I had a growth spurt towards the end of high school, but my first couple of years, I got bullied quite a bit because my voice hadn't changed or anything. All my friends are, going through that. And so I was a couple of years behind. Gave me a little bit of chip on my shoulder, I think, which is a good thing. I always look for the blessing in everything. There's a reason for that. Going through it sucks. But 9 times out of 10, when you're going through the storm, you can look back and you can pull the blessings from it. And now it's about I always try and think about when I am going through something, what good can I take from this?
That's a fact, dude.
Yeah, but it's hard when you're going through it, to look at, this is happening for me, not to me. Mm-hmm. And then, but why is this happening for me? It's hard to do that, especially when you're younger. So that was me in high school. And then, college was college. It was 4 years. I just got a major in drugs and women, and that was really it. Kind of wasted 4 years.
All the important stuff.
All the important stuff. I got degrees in finance and accounting, and I'm a numbers guy. I like numbers.
Yeah.
I prefer the ones with dollar signs in front of them.
Of course.
But Yeah, I kind of I wouldn't preach going to college unless you're going to be a specialist, doctor, lawyer, or something like that, because it was really kind of a waste of 4 years. I wish I had gotten into real estate 4 years earlier.
Yeah,
because I'd be much further ahead. So I did that, and then I kind of started my story out of college, which was selling copiers at Xerox, and then my personal life, because I know your listeners want to get to know me. I have 2 children. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Yep.
I met my wife after college, and I had she was actually my boss at the time. I did a little internship after college.
Oh, no shit.
She was my boss. She was also engaged at the time to somebody else.
Oh.
So I came in like a wrecking ball. But I'll tell you, my wife, if you're listening to this, man or woman, like if your spouse and your partner is one of the most critical decisions that you'll make in your journey, because they are either anchors or propellers. And
see, we're going to talk more about a couple of these things.
I think who you choose to spend your life with and who you choose to spend your time with, that decision needs to carry some heavy weight, because they'll influence almost everything in your life. And she's been, for me, like I would be absolutely nothing. And I know that because I got serious. I met her when I was 22 years old, and I got serious about my life because she was a real woman. And I wanted to be the man that she deserved, because I wasn't at the time. And then she, took a chance on me, because she's a little bit older than I am, just by a little bit. And she kind of had this path laid out for her. And I kind of came in and just wreaked havoc on that situation for her. And, she had to make a decision, like this 22-year-old kid, like,
she's like,
what
am I getting into with this boy?
She had her stuff laid out, and then
she literally was betting all on the potential.
Yeah.
Because there was nothing there. I didn't have any. Yeah. Keep in mind, guys, I was broke. And even when I started my entrepreneurial career, like broke as a joke, no assets, a ton of liabilities, credit card debt. I've had to sell stuff to prevent my car from getting repossessed. I've had to get meals by pulling up the center console and finding change in the thing, and that's how I have to eat. Like, I've been broke. Yeah. And she's been with me through the whole thing. So that's how you got a real one. 100%. Is because she didn't meet me when I was successful, or quote unquote successful, right? It looks different for everybody, but she didn't meet me then. She met me when I had nothing, and she made a huge bet. And if she's listening, I hope it paid off for you.
She better be listening, Jen.
I hope it paid off for you.
No, Jen's, dude, I tell you what, man, and that's beautiful. That's really cool. I know, I was saying, obviously, I know Jen. I train her as well, and it's funny, man. She's killer personality. She's very strong personality, but she's an awesome woman, man. You're blessed, and it's been really cool getting to know you both. Mm-hmm. And I talk about it all the time. I'm like, Jen and I are very much the same, very similar personality, very fiery, and just like, we get worked up about stuff, but very passionate individuals, but like you and Lydia are very, very similar too. And it's cool how you see, like, I see how y'all's balance works so well, because it's just like us, Lydia's just like, hey, it's all good, she's a lot more calm and collected. I'm just like, I'm ready to run through a wall. Yeah. But you need that. That's a perfect balance.
That's why I said, if you have her on the podcast, like, it's going to be an epic. I'm going to be here for that one, because you guys are you guys are going to get into it.
I'm going to talk to her about it today. I'm like, yo, you're coming in. Yeah. I'm stoked.
We do know it's been a minute since we had a woman. We were talking about that the other day.
She's got a great story. She's been through a lot too. So she's got some really good experiences. And her and I have both been on quite a spiritual journey over the last few years, really kind of finding ourselves and what this is all about, and however deep we end up going on that topic, but just like why we're here and what we're here to do. And, she's been doing a ton of just inner work, because I feel like we all focus so much on the external that not many people actually work on the internal enough. And, you got to do that internal work. It's far more important than the external stuff, because the external world is just a result of your thoughts, because your thoughts control what you say, controls the decisions you make. So believe it or not, like, that's that whole like taking ownership thing. The external world you're in is just a sum total of all the thoughts and the actions that you've taken as a result of your internal feelings and emotions.
Oh, without a doubt, and putting that work into yourself, into your soul. I mean, it's just, it's a simple mindset, right? It's just like, hey, I look around with people with wealth and stuff like that, and, they're doing really well or whatever, or people that really like harp on material things. And I always ask myself, if all that burned down and you had none of it, what do you have? And that's something like I remind myself of. And that's why I am so highly spiritually charged, and I put so much intention into that part of myself, because that's all I have without everything else, you know, and then a lot of people lose that. And then maybe they do lose it all the material things. And then, you know, they off themselves or whatever the case, right? Because they're like, I don't even know who I am. I got lost in the damn material shit.
Yep.
So putting that, I mean, I tell everybody, you know, I even tell my woman, I'm like, hey, you know, my spiritual part of me is the most important part of me because that charges everything else.
Yeah.
Trickle down from there. Yeah. Have you seen the movie Air?
No.
It's about Michael Jordan signed with Nike, etc. But long story short, there's a guy on there who is an agent, and he's just an asshole. And we talked about this on the Patriot episode, but he's just an asshole. And he makes a comment to the main character at one point about how he's going to sell his business one day for like 150 million or something. He says some crazy number. And at the end, when they're telling like what happened to each person, that guy did end up selling his business. Yeah. And I think they put this in here for a reason, right? Yeah. It said, I can't remember the guy's name, but whatever, sold his business in blah, blah, blah for $125 million. Yeah. The next line goes, he was spotted eating dinner alone that night.
Yeah. 100%.
All by himself.
That's it, man.
Yeah. Gassed up.
It's like, to echo everything you said, dude, they could take it all away. And what do you got? Like,
exactly.
Especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, like what skills have you acquired in order to rebuild it faster? Because you could take away all my apartments, you could take away all my real estate portfolio, and I could get it back pretty quick, a lot faster than it took me to get it the first time.
Yeah,
you know,
because then you get that extra drive too. You're like fired up on top of that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I told you about, you know, me losing a lot of money, you know, coming from my past relationship and everything. Yeah. You know, and you know, one, I didn't want that energy in my life dealing with that. But two, I was like, you know, at the end of the day, it's just money. I can fucking make it, you know, and I'm just going to rebuild from where I'm at and just keep charging. It's just going to drive me even harder. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because also when you do have that piggy bank, maybe there's a little less effort going into it. But when your back's against the wall, it's a whole different story.
Yeah. Well, money is an amplifier, so it's just a magnification glass of who you already are. So, like, when you get money, if you're like a generous person, you're going to be more generous. And if you're an asshole and you get money, like $125 million, you're going to be eating alone that night because you're an asshole and nobody wants to eat with you. It doesn't matter if you got 125 mil in the bank.
Yeah.
So, like, money is just an amplifier. It's a magnifying glass of who you already are. And I think that's why, like, I like to help people. I try and believe most people are good, right? And I think that it's people's duty, especially if you are good and generous and you are that steward, it's your duty to get wealthy because you're going to be able to help so many more people. Like, it's your obligation to be successful and to achieve financial freedom for yourself so that you're not having to continuously trade your time for money for your entire life and be a slave to it. Instead, if you can believe in abundance and create, a bunch of it, now you can go out and donate your time, donate your money and help more people because that's who you are at your heart. So I really want people to, just walk more in their calling, because when you're walking your calling, I'm blessed. And when I'm walking in my calling, you're blessed. Yeah. And that's what we want to help more people do.
Yeah. And the thing I've learned is giving from a higher place, like where you're in a higher place, and not necessarily with more money, but like, I guess spiritually and everything, you're elevated. I remember I was looking at the human design stuff, and that was one of my gifts was giving. And I've always given, to everybody I known, but like almost recklessly. I'm like, oh, you need a few grand? Okay. Or you need to get this? Okay, I got you. Like whatever you need, because I want to help. And it's just in my heart to do so. Like giving is it's such an important thing. But then like, damn, like all that money is gone and those people are gone too. And I'm like, well, thanks for at least being decent. But no. But then I was reading that and it was like, but it's like a hero's journey in a way, because you're going to make that mistake essentially. But then when you get yourself to a higher elevated place, you're going to be able to do it from that place and be better about it. Yeah. I guess. And I was like, all right, cool. Yeah. Cause we talked about it one day. It was like, if we both had all the money, you said it, you're like, dude, if you and I had all the money in the world, we just give it all away, and like, I feel that way too, but we got to grind.
Yeah. I'd keep some of it, but I'd give a lot of it away.
Yeah.
I really like what you said there too. And it's like with great power comes great responsibility, right?
That's it, dude.
If you were given these talents and gifts, it's almost a we were talking about Conor McGregor earlier, right? One of the phrases that I love that he says your lack of commitment is almost an insult to those people that believe in you.
Yep.
And
100%.
And I think and in the same way, the reason I brought that up is that your lack of commitment to the development and use of your gifts, your talents, that's not great power and great responsibility. I mean, you still have the responsibility, but you're not, grabbing it.
Yep. Yeah. So. There's people that are relying on you that you don't even know yet. There's people that are relying on you to be successful that you don't even know. And there's people that are watching you that you don't know they're watching you, but they also need you too. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people that think like, oh, I only got this many followers, or, I made a post and I only got this many views. And it's like, it doesn't matter, because if you can impact one person to change their life, like it's your obligation to put that message out there.
Oh, without a doubt, man. I mean, I've told you about a couple of things that, messages, stuff I've gotten recently, and I'm like, dude, that fills me up. Yeah. Like that's like, I want a full tank of gas in, you know what I'm saying? I just get super stoked when I see stuff like that. And that's just one person, people, and there's millions out there, but I don't think about that. Like, that's a massive effect to me. Yeah. And that's impact, and that's really cool. Yep. So
when we talk about the ripple effect all the time, right? Like you have it's impossible to know how massive the ripple effect is of just one, like impacting somebody's life in a positive way once, because if I impact you, you're going to go about the rest of your day impacting other people in a positive way because that's what I did for you, et cetera. And then so those people are going to then go out, it's just, the ripple gets really, really wide, really, really quickly. Oh, and that's if you impact one person, you know what I mean? And so you talk about any other kind of numbers, it gets pretty cool.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, man. Yeah. But so is there anything you want to say about your journey to where you're at now? Because
from the story we were talking about,
because I did want to say something before you progress to that, and two things you said that were like just hit home with me, man, because it's so relevant. You talked about what happens. It's not about what happens to you, because it essentially it happens for you. And that's the mindset to have. And I've always I got this tattoo of Amor Fati, the love of one's fate. Like, it's meant to happen. There's either good or necessary, and nothing's bad, and that's something I always remind myself of. I look at it on my wrist and I'm like, going through a situation, I'm like, hey man, this is necessary for my growth. Yep. And, and then but connecting that and the partner aspect, and I got very fortunate to have Lydia in my life. And you talked about how Jen was there for you. Yeah. She saw that potential, even when you're like looking for change just to get some food, right? And we're able to go to the grocery store and get everything we need. But we got a newborn daughter, and it's month to month, man. She's on a maternity leave. She thought she was going to have to go back to work way sooner after like 6 weeks. And I'm like, now I need to buy you more time. So I pulled some strings and figured out like how to create a little more revenue in a pinch to buy her more time to have with our daughter, right? That's very important to me. And I want to provide. Yeah. And at the end of the day, she can give me all the slack, shit in the world and be like, oh, you're just focused on this business, like da da da. Yeah. But no, she's like, Joe, I believe in it as much as you do. And I talked to her about it, and it's like, this journey is happening for us. Say we met and I was already there with my business, then you'd have these expectations. Yeah. But because of the journey we're on and we're going through it together, we get to create together, and we all get to share this journey together. And when we get there, we're going to have an even stronger relationship. Yeah. Knowing where we came from through it all. You know what I'm saying? I think that's just so powerful. And I honestly, that fires me up. I appreciate the shit out of it, Yeah.
And then when you look back on the empire that you built, because there will be a day where you look back on what you built, and, it's a constant journey. We talk about it's infinity, right? It never ends. This journey of getting better is never going to end. But there will be a time where you look back on what you built and you're like, damn, I've come a long way. Yeah. And the bank account is going to be flush, and you will be able to rest on your laurels, and you probably won't, because I know your personality. I'm the same way. We're always going to achieve that next level. But to your point, when you do look back on that empire that you have, now you and Lydia can look back and say, man, we built that. That was us. And the same thing that with Jen, for me is everything that we built, just because I may have been the one signing on the real estate deals, that was us that built that. And it's a we thing. And I think that's pretty cool. Not that, people who meet at different stages in the journey can't make it work, but I think it is cool to she knows she was there for all the original bricks that were laid in that foundation, dude. All those little bricks that were laid, all those challenges, all those struggles. And she didn't just walk in the front door of this big empire that was already built. She was there when we were freaking grading the fucking soil to get the foundation ready.
She's not sitting there why couldn't you give me this, or why couldn't you do that? Instead, she's just loving you, supporting you, and that's the main things, man. I just got such unconditional love and support and belief. Yeah, and that's all she needs to do. And because of that, man, she's 110% a part of it, and she's going to help carry this to where it's all going to be. So it's a beautiful thing to recognize, man, and it truly is partnership, man, is definitely one of the most important parts of it all. Yeah. Of you actually getting to where you want to be.
Yeah. We just had an event for some of our multifamily commercial real estate people that come in, and, we were talking about sometimes, we were talking about 10 dimes is better than 100 pennies. And some of these people, they come to this conference, they get all jazzed up and, they go home and they get motivated and then they go surround themselves with all the same people that are kind of doing the same average stuff it's almost impossible to change when you're in the same environment surrounded by the same stimuluses.
Yeah.
So like we were talking about, hey, some of y'all need to shed maybe some of those toxic people that are in this hand and kind of, make 10 dimes instead of 100 pennies. And I think I'm not necessarily saying that it's your spouse. I'm just saying some of the people in your circle, right? We talk about like if you're in a rowboat and you're rowing and you got people in your boat that are rowing the other direction, you're just going to go in circles, you know? And a lot of times people shy away from those difficult conversations of getting people out of the boat that may not need to be there. And it's to the detriment of their growth as a human being.
Oh, without a doubt.
They're just letting, basically anchors or propellers, and they're letting a lot of anchors just kind of drag them down, and they're going so much slower than they could go. And this isn't about like go home and shed all your family and friends, but there may be some people that you need to tighten that circle up and let very select people influence. Like we were talking about, our spouses are heavy on the influence, right?
Yeah.
But who else is in that immediate circle that you're really letting guide some of your mental narratives and some of your things?
This is brought to you by Relentless Pursuit. Check us out at relentlesspursuitlifestyle.com. Snatch some apparel. Check us out on Instagram at relentless_pursuit. And for all the HQ stuff, Relentless Pursuit _HQ on Instagram. I do this all the time, actually. I can't talk. But also check out our Patreon. So we're doing podcasts with exclusive content. So these are going to keep coming to you, but now we got one with me and Logan. We're doing some Q&A on there. I'm doing Saturday Cup of Joe with Joe, answering questions, interacting with people a lot more. So it's a private community that's really fun, and we got a lot of cool stuff coming to it. Feel free to check it out at patreon.com/The Relentless Pursuit Podcast. Thank you, and I'm passing it on to Mr. Chad King to give his deal.
What am I doing?
So just plug your business.
So yeah, just look
quick
at the camera.
elevator pitch into the camera.
Titan Capital Group, we help people invest in multifamily real estate. If you want to get your money working for you, stop letting it die in the bank or in a 401k or IRA. Get your money working for you in commercial real estate. That's all we buy across the Southeast. Yeah. So check us out, Titan Capital Group. Give me a follow, Mr. Chad King on Instagram, and shoot me a Facebook friend request if you want to.
Hell yeah.
Perfect.
Thanks, man. Perfect.
Yeah.
Now we know.
Send feet pics Chad's way.
Hopefully, hopefully, like you get a bunch of people investing, and they're like, "Man, RP took care of us. We need to."
Yeah. I mean, they should. We're providing a good opportunity for.
I think it's great.
Hedge against inflation.
This is super random, but just real quick, do you have any siblings?
Older sister.
Older sister. Okay, never mind. There's somebody that for some reason I thought I feel like that name sounds familiar, but anyways.
Nope. There's another Chad King that does real estate in my market, and
really
I get confused all the time.
I bet
it's frustrating.
People are calling the wrong
crazy.
guy.
Yeah. What are the chances of that?
I don't know.
What is your market, by the way? Like specifically, are you here?
I'm in Nashville. I'm in Murfreesboro.
Okay.
I'm here.
Oh yeah, because you train with Joe.
Yeah.
So where did we leave off at? That's what I'm trying to get to, because I was going to say something before we got out, and then it's like, bam. I typically jot it down.
I mean, I think, the stuff we covered in the first half of the show, like none of it really matters, right? Without like just living in gratitude and being appreciative for the moment. And like, I think that's something that you and I try and do as well, is like we talk about this journey, we talk about this pursuit, right? This relentless pursuit that never ends, right? But it's about having what's called blissful dissatisfaction. So you can be dissatisfied with where you currently are, wanting to progress forward, but you can also be living in a state of bliss and like grateful to be alive and around and enjoying each day and every breath that we get to take here, because it's important to enjoy that blissful dissatisfaction. But you can be in that state of bliss, but always be pursuing your relentless pursuit.
That's called balance right there, baby. That's why I talk about that all the time.
I will say, like, that bliss thing, man. That's
tough.
That's relatable too. I mean,
it takes a lot of meditation, and it takes a lot. It takes work to live in this present, because we're always inundated with stuff in the past and in the future. So it takes a lot of inner work to be conscious enough to live in the present. Yeah,
it's easy to get like really worked up and worried about the future, given where you're at today, when you're not really. You know what it is? It's gratitude too. Like gratitude heightens that bliss, right? And that's what I do, man. I'll be at home and I'll reflect on things or current situations with maybe finances or whatever. But like, I look at my woman, I look at my daughter, I think about the people I get to train. I think about going to work every day, and I'm here 12 to 16 hours a day, constantly. But I get to do what I love. I get to like change, have an impact on people, and it's just going to go on a greater scale. So that kind of eliminates any kind of worry or overthinking. You're just, I'm very grateful for life, man. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. But ultimately you got to be able to be the one that designs it for yourself. So you have to start thinking about what kind of life you want to live, and like the ability to just wake up and go to a place where you enjoy being 12 to 16 hours and you enjoy the impact that you're making. It's like, you have to design that life for yourself too, because otherwise, if you're not designing your life, somebody else is going to design it for you. So like, it's also about the pursuit of what it means to you to be successful, or what it means to you to live that free life, or where you can just enjoy yourself, you know? And fortunately, if you understand how the game works, like we live on an economic planet. So, you know, I always kind of tie everything back to money, because like you need money to get there. Like you need money to live that life, because if you go to try and live that life that you design for yourself and you're going to think you're going to do without money, it's very difficult, right?
Well, that's the thing. Like I talked about this in the past with friends and whatnot, and you know, money's important. I'll get to what you're saying. Yeah. But you know, money's pretty evil, man. I mean, it definitely leads a lot of the worst shit in the world, you know, and you think about the concept of money and it's pretty shitty. Yeah. But we live in a world where it's necessary. And what I always tell myself is money equals freedom. Money equals opportunity. Yeah, that's right, yeah. If your focus is money and the dollar amount, and whatnot, and what material shit you can get from it, because I think they fall hand in hand, then it's going to deceive you. It's going to bring out that dark side. But when your money is geared towards going towards others, taking care of your family, allowing yourself to experience the life that you want to experience and travel, it goes back to what you're saying, like creating that life and giving you like true things to be grateful for, and you gear it towards that, then I think it's a whole nother ball game, and that's when good shit happens, right? Yeah. So
we're actually all that quote comes down a lot. When we're younger, we hear it, money is evil. Mm-hmm. Money is the root of all evil. Yeah.
The first sentence,
the actual quote is the love of money is the root of all evil, which I agree. If you are entrapped by it and you are like in love with the actual money of it, the power side, like, and you are open to be evil. And we see it nowadays. Like a lot of people have sold their souls to the devil for a paycheck. Yeah. I mean, we're watching the world be run by those folks.
Yeah. And it's so in our face too.
It's blatant. But if you start asking questions around money, who controls it? How does it move? How does the interest move? Like it all kind of ties back to if you can figure out the game and how the people are playing it, like you can, you know, achieve freedom for yourself, because the love of that money is definitely the root of all evil. I mean, the love of that money is the root of the evil, but like what money can allow you to do can make you really happy.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So, well, like you said, it's like a spot, like it amplifies who you already are. Instead of it, like people say money changes you, but it amplifies you.
So you got to love, you know, what it can allow you to do for your life too. So
can I ask you just from the storytelling perspective, like you mentioned your dad. Yeah. But like when it comes to like the mindset stuff, you know, not even particularly the wanting financial freedom, but the mindset stuff specifically that you're talking about, personal development, et cetera, like that kind of stuff. Is that, you also mentioned your wife being a big component of like, you know, you kind of, for lack of a better term, like growing up or however you want to put it. Yeah. But like, was that an internal, like a thing that you always had growing up? Was that like a totally new thing as you got into your adult life? Like you know what I mean? Like
what thing?
Like the mindset of getting better, about helping people, about being, you know, all the kind of stuff that you're talking about now. Cause you kind of, like, again, you mentioned that your wife in particular, you wanted to kind of be a man that, you know, that she deserved. Yeah. But in general, it seems like this was probably, I mean, again, probably your dad as well, but it seems like this maybe was always kind of working there. So I'm just kind of curious where some of this stuff comes from. You think it's nature, nurture?
Yeah, I think, you know, my dad taught me, both my parents really taught me a lot about like asking a lot of questions for myself. Like there was never any pressure to do anything. It was always just be inquisitive. Yeah. You know, so I think I started asking I ask a lot of questions. Like that to me is, you know, you can find out a lot from asking questions. And so I feel like as I grew up, I started to just kind of look at the world and ask like how things worked. Like I've always been kind of curious what goes on behind the curtain and how things work. Yeah. So, I think they taught me to ask questions, and I started looking at like how kind of the wealth and the structure of everything works, which started to lead me into this journey of kind of want to understand how money works and how it was related to the wealth side of things. Because you talk about some of the wealth that people have that have accumulated, it's just, and you guys, the digits are just crazy, right? Yeah. And then when you start to dive into it, you find out how money works, right? And you find out how debt works, and you find out how the difference between good debt and bad debt, and how you can leverage debt to streamline your way to success because none of it's actually real. Of course. Right? Debt is just created.
Yeah.
I go get a mortgage for a $14 million piece of commercial real estate, right? They just create that mortgage out of thin air. It's not real.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. So they give me that loan, like that doesn't exist. And then the servicing of that debt for me is paid down by other people. Right. So I just started asking, and I kind of took a tangent to commercial real estate, but like I just sort of asking how things work. And I think that just led me to
am I tripping out? Do you hear music?
Sorry, yeah, I feel like it's kind of distracting.
Is that
Yeah.
What is that?
I'm just having to close the door.
Jesse's working out, isn't he? Can you grab me a water?
That was just freaking. I was trying so hard, dude. I was trying so hard.
All good, man.
It was just slowly creeping. It was just slowly creeping in my ears. And then I took my headset off. I couldn't hear it anymore. I was like, where the fuck did he go? And then I put him back on. I could hear it again.
Journey.
He's jamming. He's jamming. Yeah, right. That's funny.
We had the coolest music in my era.
Yeah, I agree.
I can pick us up over here. So.
Sorry, dude. I was telling him I was trying to let it go, but I kept hearing it. I was like, dude, I have to.
Who's playing the music back there? Was that Jesse jamming out?
Yeah. I mean, he's had to come to me because I'll have like death metal blasting and he'll be putting somebody through this deep recovery session. He's like, yo, Joe. I'm like, yeah, it's probably not that relaxing.
Breathe
Do
in.
you guys listen to the same music?
He listens to some of the stuff I do, but he's listening to like Journey right now.
Nice.
So I guess he's switching up the vibe.
Living on a dream. He's probably singing back there.
Yeah.
We should go back and film.
That was him we were hearing.
Yeah.
He was actually, I could hear him. I can hear him kind of
that were playing. He was singing.
singing quietly.
Yeah.
I could actually hear something.
That's so
it wasn't
funny.
the singer's voice.
Yeah. Jesse's a good dude.
But sorry to cut your flow, Con. You're good. Go ahead.
No, so I think we were just tying that into, you were kind of asking how that desire for that pursuit kind of came about. It was just always kind of more of an inquisitive thing that sort of led me to asking a lot of those types of like, how does this all work questions? And then I just saw that a lot of people who had the wealth had the control of their lives. And I think I'm kind of a control freak. So they have control of their lives. And I just was curious how all that worked. And it kind of led me to this journey about money and how that works. And then how that's tied to this kind of pursuit and how you can kind of put things together to build it for yourself. Because the blueprint is out there for anything that you want to do, folks. So like if there's something you want to do, you do not have to reinvent the wheel. Like 9 times out of 10, there is somebody that has done it and you can just go and pay them and get the blueprint. Like this is the coaching and mentorship is so important.
Yeah.
Is because there's people that have done exactly what you're trying to do and you can go and pay them for their time, their information and get that experience. And like you can get years worth of experience slammed down into like a crash course.
Without a doubt.
And I can learn from your mistakes. Like if you wanted to get into real estate, right? You could learn from all of my mistakes in the last 8 years.
Yeah.
Right. And then just not make those and save yourself a ton of money and energy and time and stuff. So
Of course.
Mentors are shortcuts.
yeah. So like you got to have coaches and mentors and then you start getting around those circles and you realize how they're doing things. And then you just realize there's sort of levels to this game. You know, when we're talking about wealth specifically in any really pursuit of anything you want to do, there's levels to every game that you're playing.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And if you can put yourself at the table with the people that are a level above you, right, then you start having different conversations. And then you can put yourself with the people that at a table, a level above, and then the conversations get real tighter. Like my wife and I go out to this island. It's owned by a hectomillionaire friend of ours that is just the coolest chick in the world, was flipping houses in the back of her car, like living out of the back of her car.
Yeah.
You know, now she owns an island, you know.
Yeah.
It's a real deal. I've been there a
Yeah.
couple times with my wife. It's amazing. And, but she has a blueprint, right? She went through this whole experience, you know, over a long period of time. And like, if you can pay someone for any blueprint you want, like if that was your goal, she can show you how to do it.
Yeah. It doesn't mean you have to follow it 110% because like your journey is going to take you,
100%.
but you can learn so much from it. And that's the
Yeah.
cool thing too, is like, if you really pay attention to the amount of shit you learn, like, man, I reflect on failures and I'm like, well, won't fucking do that again.
Yeah.
I'm not like, damn, I wish I wouldn't have done that. I'm just like,
Yeah.
hey man, I know what to avoid. And if someone else asks me a question, hey Joe, how did you get here? How do you do X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, well, I can tell you what not to do. I may not know everything to do yet, but I can tell you where to, you know, not shoot yourself in the foot either.
100%. That's why books are so important. We were talking about reading, like the importance of reading before this. And I think books, you can just learn so much from books. And, you know, somebody puts their entire life experience into a 200-page thing, and you can go read it and get their entire life experience, and they put it into this book. Exactly.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Well, and it's also like, I mean, YouTube
University,
I'm
baby.
literally
I've
sitting
learned
here,
a lot of stuff on YouTube.
I literally learned everything that I'm doing right now from YouTube.
You can get a better degree on YouTube in a month than you can get at most four-year colleges.
I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, YouTube and like experience, because I can tell you now, like exercise science, I learned 99.9% of what I do just by like being a trainer and interacting within the industry and just learning on my own. Not to knock them, but
it's funny you said before that they would ask you questions on tests and like you had an answer, but you knew they were trying to make you answer it a certain way, and you would like tell
they'd be like, oh no, this isn't okay, and I'm like, actually no, this is why it is okay, and this is why it should be taught this way. And like,
that sounds like something you would do.
But I'm like, dude, you're teaching somebody like the wrong thing. I'm just trying to help. Like, maybe y'all need to change the curriculum. Research or the curriculum. This book's from 1960. Things have changed,
Yeah, right.
I'm with you. Stuff does change. You got to move. Yeah,
exactly. But anyway, I mean, I don't know.
We need to adjust some more curriculums in the schooling system. A lot of them are pretty rough. So I agree they all are pretty antiquated curriculums.
Well, you're big on homeschooling. That's something I want to do.
100%. It's not. I mean, that's not even. It's a no-brainer for us.
Yeah.
You said our kids are 3 and 1, right?
Yeah, we're already got a schoolroom.
Gotcha.
We're prepared for it. I mean, that's just a no-brainer for us. You got to be careful with who you're letting influence your children right now. The children are they're getting a hold of these kids through all this media and devices and stuff like that. They're getting a hold of them young, but and then they can imprint them and kind of do whatever they want. Like if you're not being super active, and with the way that some public school systems have obviously transitioned into just a complete indoctrination program. Definitely the 4-year universities are just liberal concentration camps. But you just got to be careful with, especially in those primitive years, like the ages of 0 to 7. Like the kids are learning the most in their subconscious. Like that time is really critical as the parent to be able to imprint onto those children and not let somebody else imprint.
And even at like the earliest stages, while your kid may not remember it, it has an impact. It's just funny because we bring, we have Ozzy in the gym back there when we work out together. And at first, when I drop away, do deadlifts, she'd be like, she'd do the little flail thing that just cracks me up. She was like, what the hell? Yesterday, dude, I was slamming the hell out of some weight, and she's just right there. And
chilling.
I'm like, man, she's already getting used to this sound. Like, I don't know, it's cool because she's going to be used to like weights banging, and I think that's pretty badass, and it's just going to, I don't know.
Wait till she's standing in there and she's saying, go daddy. That's what mine does now.
Exactly.
When I come home, she wants me to dance, and we'll go to each other. We'll go daddy, go Gracie.
Oh dude, I can't wait. I'll be teaching her little workouts and stuff, because that'll be like a part of who she is by nature, and not forced. It's just, that's her environment, and she's going to love that. And I'm like, dude, that's cool as shit. But that growing period, man, because I'm all about kids going to school and interacting with other kids, the social aspect of it, but the problem is the strings at the top that are controlling it all. Like, it's not the kids that like I don't want my children interacting with, but like what's influencing all these kids. It's that system above them that I don't want involved, so I'm going to socialize my kids in certain areas, and like they're going to get all kinds of social interaction. I'm going to be intentional about that, but I want to teach them what's going, their education.
Yeah.
I don't have control over that.
I also do, and it's not selfish, but you also want to have influence over who your children have interactions with too. Like, and that's okay to want that. Like, it's okay to not want to put them into a dedicated system that you really can't control, like who they are influenced by too.
Well, because they're parents, I mean, how you parent is how you parent, but like if my values and morals are the completely opposite, and then my kid becomes best friends with this kid, and they're like, hey, I want to stay over their house. I'm like, I don't want you going to their house. Like, I know what they stand for. And like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I don't wish ill will towards you, but like, I got control over this part. So does that make sense?
Yeah. You can love from a distance. You don't have to give everybody your time and everybody your energy.
Yeah, you're not required it.
Your energy's super precious, and you got to have a force field to some shit going on right now. There's a lot of stuff that is thrown at us, like things going on. They're intentionally creating as much chaos as possible. The powers that be, right? And however deep you want to go down that rabbit hole, you can.
I love to talk about chaos and order. Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of chaos coming if you guys aren't paying attention. We're like 33 trillion in debt. I mean, this bubble is going to pop at some point, and not a lot of people are prepared for that. Yeah. And when that thing pops, it's not going to be good. And so what's coming is there's this totalitarian one world government that kind of wants to come in and rule with that whole social credit system. They're like paying
the Great Reset, guys.
This is the Great Reset. Yeah. So the Great Reset is a book written by Klaus Schwab. I mean, it's a whole game plan that by 2030 you'll own nothing and be happy about it. So
he said that. I remember that. He said
wrote a
that.
book about it.
Yeah,
So it's a plan, and COVID was sort of a test run, and really more of a compliance and experiment than anything else. Massive psyop, all planned. Bill Gates wrote a book about COVID-19 in 2019, right?
Yeah.
And just told the play before they ran it. So, and most people, again, this is that whole asking questions thing. Most people aren't going to ask these kinds of questions.
Right.
Then you start asking, okay, what do all these people have in common, right? They get together at this place and they all fly in on their private jets and they kind of create this plan for how the economies are going to shift and move. And they have their money, so much money you can't even fathom. And then these companies all own these other companies that happen to be the medias and the Hollywoods and the pharmaceuticals, and they're all kind of part of this, basically a massive organized crime system.
You're talking about the World Economic Forum?
That's the World Economic Forum. So like their plan for us ants, which is how they see us, is not great.
Yeah.
So like we talk about like living in bliss and being grateful for everything that we have, but it's also a little bit ignorant not to be prepared for what's coming.
Oh, without a doubt.
So to anybody who's, following us on this thread here, I would recommend that you understand how to defend yourself. I recommend that you understand how to live what we would call like a little bit more of an independent life, a little more off the grid, off the system. I'm not saying like, go into the woods and live up. That's not what I'm saying, but I am saying that like, y'all need to be prepared for the play that I think they're going to run. And I think it's coming quick because I think if Donald Trump wins the election next year, he's going to do his best to hold all these people accountable, and they can't let that happen. So they're going to take some drastic measures in the next 18 months before this next thing, and they're going to create as much chaos as possible. And they're doing it right now. All this trans stuff. You guys think this is all not related? This is all part of one giant fucking game. So this whole trans stuff, they just did it with the black-white race, huge thing that they're making that pushes. Then they do it with all these different scenarios and narratives just to get everybody so freaking divided, right? To not understand that there's really one common enemy and it's us versus them, right?
That's what I was about to say.
That's the thing. It's not us versus us, but they're making it about us versus us.
It's like a little...
Yeah. But this is not most people can't look past the right-left, Democrat-Republican fight, which is just really basically kind of this... Everybody's kind of in bed together. It's just this one big kind of scenario that everybody pays attention to. They think Joe Biden's really in charge. This man's falling over. This man has no fucking clue.
People are like, someone told me the other day, they're like, the president, man, the president has the most power in the world. And I was like, bullshit, man. You've seen that guy.
This guy's...
Have you heard Putin's interview where he talks about Trump? He said, I think he has some good ideas. He said, but I've lived through 3 presidents now. And he said, when the people in black suits come in and tell him how this really works, his ideas won't come to fruition.
Yeah.
Putin said that.
Yeah, that's what's going on right now.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's, it's, and both sides of the aisle are bought and paid for. I'm not over here like some Republican. I don't even like either one of them.
Yeah, same.
Like we've talked about this.
Yeah.
Like I don't identify in any of those fucking
don't lump me into anything.
Dude, just because I really hate the current administration so much with a passion, really became mainly because of what they do to our wallets, and not to mention just the false narratives and shit that they promise, and that's the whole reason they get elected. But I know that a lot of those folks are in bed over here on the right too.
Yeah.
And until we fucking unify and realize that like, hey, we need to get a little bit more down the middle and stop fighting, because it's not this that's going to crumble. It's our whole livelihoods, you know, and they're really kind of fucking around with it. And we don't really call them on it. I mean, taxation in some of those states, right? You guys are paying north of 50%. We're not free, right? We're paying over 50% between our income tax, sales tax you pay, the taxes and everything that you got to pay to buy stuff, you got to pay to sell stuff, or you got to pay property taxes. You guys are over 60% of 50% of some people's income is going to the government. And you think we're free? We ain't fucking free.
No, we're not.
And the way that they're spending that shit, laundering it like a motherfucker, if everybody knows, they're just laundering the heck out of it to make more of it. And we're just, our shit is just constantly becoming worth less and less and less.
Yeah.
So you got to do things to keep up with that fight.
Exactly. Have you seen the movie Ready Player One?
Yeah.
So I watched that movie, a while back, and I was like, dude, this is how it's going to be. And guess what, dude? They talk, because at the beginning he's talking about this is after these different riots, after this and that. It's like after all this chaos happened, they move into this world where, and I don't know if you saw the new Apple thing that's like several $1,000s. They move into this virtual world because guess what, man? If people are going to hate their reality so much, that they'll do anything to escape it.
Oh, yeah.
So if they can create their own reality and do anything they want with a fucking set of goggles in, then that's where they're going to live. And guess what? You can let everybody live off welfare because they're perfectly happy and content. They'll eat junk, they'll stay stagnant, and they're not going to rise against you because they got everything they need through this fucking virtual screen.
Dude,
and that's crazy stuff.
They got people eating
That movie's
crickets.
on point. A lot of movies have a lot of truth. People say, oh, it's Hollywood. And I'm like, yeah, it's telling us something.
Oh, yeah, dude, there's a reason they tell those stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're mocking us.
But that's why I always refer to Lord of the Rings, because guess what? It's going to get darker, and then the light's going to overcome. And I truly do believe that, but it's got to get worse before it gets there.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. Like, it's going to get, everything's upside down right now. Everything's backwards.
Well, I've talked about good and bad, right? And a lot of people think, oh, it's good versus evil. But then I was reading this perspective in this book, and it talks about chaos and order. And there's no such thing as good or evil beings. There's just chaos and order. So you talked about all this chaos going on, right? Mm-hmm. But chaos always shifts into order eventually. After some time, like this chaos is created only to create something better. And that's in my heart. I truly do believe that. You know, if you believe in anything, if you're religious, right, you believe in Christ. Like Christ is going to come back one day. You know, I think about the God Balder rising from hell and coming back one day and bringing light, you know, but it's like, it's after this great war and all this chaos, and then that's going to happen. But you got to get there first.
Yeah, man. And just to kind of sum up that whole conversation, it's just like, just a quick story. If you have a jar and you put 100 black ants in the jar and you put 100 red ants in the jar and you close the jar up and you put it on the table, they'll live peacefully.
Yeah.
They're just going to all live in there. And then when the jar is shook, you put it down, the red ants start killing the black ants and the black ants start killing the red ants, and they rip each other apart until everybody's dead.
Damn.
What people don't ask themselves, because a lot of times we're the ants, is who shook the jar? And, you know, when you start asking, like, why we're all fucking at odds, from what it seems at odds, because I go out in the streets and everybody's cool with each other.
Yeah.
But they make you think that everybody's at odds and there's so much hate out in the world, right? But they're all, at the end of the day, they're just shaking the jar. So, like, I think we all need to love each other. We all need to be better at, you know, being a better, you know, community, supporting each other. And, like, personal excellence is the ultimate rebellion. So you ask, everything we just talked about, all right, shit's going to get bad. Right. And then there's going to be a lot of chaos, and then there's going to be order, and things are going to be good on the other side. Who are you going to be when it comes to the other side? Right. Because you have to, personal excellence is the ultimate rebellion. So the way to stay off and stay out of the whole fights of it is to control yourself and to control your personal excellence that you're chasing. That's why the mind, body, spirit connection is so important that you always talk about. Yeah. It's just like, you got to get control of your inner, so that when this chaos and order comes back, right, we're there, the good people are there.
Yeah, that's the ultimate preparation too, you know?
Yeah.
Because some people only have the capabilities to get so prepared, even like with, you know, land or whatever, based on where they're at in life, right? And especially in a time that's crunching. But, you know, if you got a lot more than most if you can center all this within you. Yeah. You know, because no matter what it's like going through it, when you come out on the other end, you're going to be one of those people that are like leading people, you know, to the light. And I think
but we need leaders. We need real leaders. Like, we need the world. We need the leaders of men to step up, the leaders of women to step up. I mean, we need those leaders, man. Yeah. And it's important you develop the leadership qualities and capabilities to be able to lead others. Right?
Yeah, without a doubt.
We were just talking. I'm completely cool talking about it, because I mean, it comes from the earth, and I think it does good things for you. You know, marijuana specifically. Yeah. You know, I think it has its, when used in moderation and in the right ways, it has its the same thing when we talk about some other different types of psychedelics, if that's what you want to call them. Like, but they're, especially the ones that come from the earth, there's a use for them that can be healthy. Oh yeah, when done the right way. Yeah. And like, I mean, for me, that calms me down, allows me to feel a little bit more grateful, present in the moment. It sort of just settles a lot of that pursuit we're always on. But but in moderation, right? Because I get to where if I'm doing it too often, my anxiety goes up. Like, I just feel a little bit out of control. But
balance.
Like, that balance, having moderation with it.
Well, it's like everything.
It's like I get together with my brothers and go out into the woods, you know, and we have ritual weekend. We do it every month or every other month.
Don't you guys like beat the shit out of each other out there?
Sometimes. Sometimes, yeah. They do. But we just, honestly,
don't ever invite me out to the woods.
Honestly, you love it. Like, honestly, there's a little bit of that. Like, we'll spar with like gloves and stuff. Every once in a while, there'll be some bare knuckle stuff. Depends on the event.
Every time he tells me about this shit, he'll tell me about all this crazy ass shit. Like, somebody fucking broke their leg. Somebody got their ass beat doing this. Somebody did that. And I go, dude, you should come next time. And I'm like, Wait a second. You need to work on your sales pitch on this, but no, it is.
Dude,
it does sound awesome.
Dude, I will say
awesome.
the majority of these times together, though, is just us sitting around, like, just talking, man.
Yeah.
Like, we'll do some combative practice and stuff like that because it's one of those pillars, right? It's very important. Like, we all need to be strong and capable and be defenders, and it's just a mindset thing. It's that warrior cult kind of mindset. But and I think all men should be. I mean, Jordan Peterson talked about it. All men need to have that kind of be able to at least have some combative experience. But most of the time, it's just us sitting here talking about things we're talking about now, and we're just hanging out and building a stronger bond. And we do ritual because that ties us together for sure.
Yeah.
And it's actually mostly it is pretty chill, to be honest. But so come along, guys.
Until the bell rings.
Until the bell rings.
I know everybody's like, man, I don't know
Dude,
about.
I promise, it's not that big a deal. Ding, ding, ding. What was that? Wow.
You know what's crazy though? There's like a calling for like tribalism right now, man. So it's funny because I know a guy's an entrepreneur. He's in his upper 40s. He's trying to put together this like masculine men's group, where they go out in the woods and just do very similar stuff. And then I've had a guy I talked to the other day. He's like, man, we need to host like a men's retreat. Like men need this. And I'm like, dude, I've been doing this for years now. But the fact of the matter is like there's a calling to build that brotherhood and tribe. But I think it's by nature we're getting called back to that mindset because of like where things are going too. But I feel like that's kind of part of it. But I also just love it. So
I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. I don't know if that's you can catch me on the golf course if I have any free time. I haven't been out on the golf course for a while, but if you want to find me, I'm
never golfed.
I've done a couple times. It's very difficult.
Go to Top Golf, get a few off the mat.
I do that.
Okay, before you come out, start swinging around.
I was talking about maybe on here with somebody that plays golf, and I was like, man, I'm the guy that gets more. Say I got a hole over here, just say it's 100 yards away. I think I'd be more entertained by the fact that I hit it 600 yards rather than it getting a hole in one at 100 yards. You know what I'm saying? I'd be like, hell yeah, that thing went far as shit. Like,
just power.
I would be very entertained if you hit it 600 yards.
Yeah, I don't even know.
That is a fucking very long way.
That's a crazy drive.
I guess it evens out.
That's Happy Gilmore. That's a Happy Gilmore.
Did you see that dude hit the fucking
600
nothing
yards.
but net? Hole
He
in
just
one
hold it? Yeah.
At the dude, this guy was playing on the PGA Tour. Is not even a pro. He won like some kind of local tournament. Or I don't exactly understand it, but he's not actually a pro. But he somehow was able to play with the PGA pros.
Yeah.
And he hit a 150-foot shot in the air, nothing but net. I've never seen that in my whole life.
Hole in one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. Ridiculous.
That's
Yeah.
nuts.
You saw Live Golf and PGA just announced
Yep.
back
They
together.
did.
That's good. That's gonna be interesting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were real mad about that Saudi money a few months ago.
Just a lot of people were real mad about a lot of aspects of that deal that was made.
Until they realized, they could
Who got paid? I
they
mean,
could get a
you just
piece of
ask
that.
a question. Who
They
got
could get a
paid?
piece of that.
Well, a lot of those guys turned down a lot of money to not go to Live and then to end up merging with them. So
Yep.
they kind of got sold up the creek, but we'll see.
I don't know what y'all are talking about.
Live's a rival golf organization, but it's backed by the Saudis.
We'll stop talking about golf. I'm
No,
sorry.
y'all are good. No, I just follow. He knows. I follow Zero Sports.
Yeah.
Zero.
But I'll
follow
ask you
much either.
something that is relevant that maybe we can get the ball rolling. But you were talking about reading, right? So you got any recommendations?
Oh yeah. I mean, if you haven't read Think and Grow Rich, I think that's
I was
the
going to
first
ask you if you've read that one, dude.
So
Yes.
that's kind of your base level stuff. Like you got to start thinking about this the right way, thinking about your future and thinking yourself into wealth and thinking yourself into relations. It talks about the mastermind concept. It talks about a lot of just foundational concepts into really like building anything that's worth a shit is basically how to sum it up. So that book is number one. And then, depending on where you want to go, if you're going to go like more, I think everybody should learn some sales stuff. I think a lot of people need to really understand better, like interpersonal communication and some basic sales. I recommend everybody read a few books on sales, and negotiation. Chris Voss has got a great book called Never Split the Difference. It's a sales book. This is really worth a read. And then like, if you start going down the asset, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a very financial book for basics to start building a financial literacy. Accumulating assets, not liabilities, good debt versus bad debt, that kind of stuff, understanding how money works. If you start going down that path, and then obviously there's the personal development path, which has got all the books that we're all familiar with, Okay. But those are some of them. I could go on and on.
Well,
about
people
my
may
book.
not be familiar with them.
Keep going.
So you got like Extreme Ownership, for example, like
Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. You got Relentless by Tim Grover.
Yeah,
you haven't read Relentless.
I've heard of that
by
one.
Tim
That's a
Grover.
good one.
He's
I
got
haven't
another
read
one.
it, but I've heard of it.
He's another one called Winning. I got to drop 10X by Grant Cardone's one of the best books. He's got a couple good ones. Seller Be Sold's great. And then you got mindset stuff. I mean, David Goggins' book Can't Hurt Me was mind-blowing. That was a good one. Kevin Hart's got a few good books on. If you like audiobooks, Kevin Hart's actually got a few good books. And he narrates. I'm a big audiobook guy. Spend a lot of time in the car, so he narrates all of his books too, and he'll go off the cuff and sort of tell some jokes. So it's a good way to learn. Yeah, those are nice. A bunch of them.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that.
Come to my house, you can see my bookshelf.
Oh yeah, I got a decent bookshelf.
There you go.
I got some of that stuff, but also like my shit's very like spiritual and historical and all that stuff too. I like a variety. I like a little bit of fiction too, and I know some people are against that because they don't think it's very. They don't think it works. It benefits you in any way, but I think it does, man, because I'm a dreamer too, man. And I love vision. I love envisioning things. So I love always like, fantasy, right? Like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
It's just like visioning this heroic ideal and like where I want to go with life and like, bring goodness to the world. Like I can connect that. So to me, I love reading stuff like that because there's always an underlying story to it that is applicable to your life a lot of times. So I gained some from fiction, and I don't know, having an imagination just makes you look at the world just a lot differently.
Yeah.
I can't have it all too serious.
You always tie the Lord of the Rings into like some real life stuff though. So like, I think you're great at finding the message and that kind of stuff. And when you're good at picking out the message and then using that message and sort of applying it, I think that's why you like those books.
I think it's just like my unique way, I guess.
Works
for me.
He'll make fun of me for liking Marvel though.
Yeah. I watched Game of Thrones. This shit had some dragons. That was pretty cool.
I love it.
I could like fly around a dragon.
That'd be pretty sick.
That'd be cool with me.
I want one of those to come to life, man. I'm gonna summon one, and a RP wolf, and it's just I'm gonna fly around on that.
Just make sure I'm not fucking here when you summon it, please. I don't want to be here when you summon that thing.
Nah, it'll be cool.
It'll be a cool wolf.
It answers to me.
He said, "No, it'll be cool. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Don't mess with Chad. He's straight. He's like,
thank you.
Yeah, I got you, bro.
Good. I picture one of those dire wolves. One of those big wolves from Game of Thrones.
God, that'd be a dream come true.
You should get a dire wolf. We should get one. They have a nice little bed right there.
I know. And then my dog's gonna be next to him in her little playpen, and I'm just gonna be like, "Y'all are good over there."
There you go.
Doing your thing.
Future studio has a dire wolf in.
Hell yeah! One day, guys, just be ready.
We'll hit you back when we got the dire wolf here.
But I do want to ask. So, you were talking about you and your wife's spiritual journey, and maybe getting into that. And I'm curious because that's something I find very, very interesting. I love hearing about people's different perspectives on that. So, and a lot of people are on like this spiritual, there's a spiritual attack in the world. A lot of people are on kind of a new spiritual path. I think there's a lot of confusion there. So, where are y'all at? I'm just curious.
Well, first things first, we are not humans having a spiritual experience. We are spirits having a human experience.
Oh yeah, we're a soul.
So when you start to understand that, like you're not the body that you are currently in. You're a spirit. Yeah. You have a soul, and your soul will live on. And what I believe, and I think this is what you're asking me, is I believe that the soul has been here many times. It's occupied many different humans.
Reincarnation.
Had different human experiences, and you learn from those. Yeah. And then, so like I think I told you about my past life regression when I did that. And that was my trigger to sort of change the way I started.
I'm still waiting for that contact to get my past life regression.
She doesn't have openings, but I'm working you in. Okay. Give me some time. She doesn't see other people.
He's softening it up for you.
Yeah. Thanks,
She's
Chad.
a healer that's just the most incredible healer in the world. She doesn't really take new patients.
All right. Just amp me up. That's all good.
I'll get you in there.
Yeah,
I'll get you in there.
I'll give her a free Patreon subscription.
I'm sure if you brought a T-shirt, she'd love to have it.
Yes.
All right.
Sweet. Deal.
But yeah, no, I think it's just important to do that spiritual work and understand that, your soul has a calling. Your soul is here for a reason. You have actually, majority of everybody's been here many times before and had other experiences. And when you start to do that, like inner work, I believe that the same thing, let me tie this in, because before I get too off on the spirit side of things, what we're talking about, whether it's God, whether it's the light, whether it's the universe, everybody's referring to it as the same thing. It's just the greater power that has to exist for all of us to be here right now. Whatever form it may be, some people, they call it different things, but they're all kind of referring to the same
Without
thing.
doubt.
We call it the light, right?
Yeah.
So it's just, the light is just, it always was and always will be. And that's kind of when you can tie everything back to, you have to believe in something. And if you call the light God and you believe that story, I believe that Jesus was real. I believe that Jesus was actually just an amazing healer.
Yeah.
And he was a son of the light, right? But there's points to that story that are accurate and a depiction of what I believe to be, God. And then you tie it back to you're a reflection of that, and then you can have that spiritual sort of level of consciousness to then start making decisions a little bit differently, to realize, all right, I am a spiritual being. I have a calling. What am I here to do? And then for me, I'm really starting to try and I always look at the end. So I have an exercise that you do where you write your eulogy and you write who you're going to be when you die. And I'm going to tie this into the spirit thing. But so you basically write out your eulogy, and I'm not talking about your obituary. I'm talking about picture your daughter, Ozzy, at the podium, and she's reading what your life was to everybody that came in attendance.
What are they all going to find out? Yeah, what
do you want? No. What do you want it to say?
No, exactly. That's what I mean. What would that? So how would I be described?
So you write that down. You sit there, do some inner work, write that down, and then from there you just work backwards. So if you want that to be true at the end of your life, right? Who do you need to be in 20 years for that to be true? And then you go, all right, who do I need to be in 10 years for that to be true? And then 5 years and 1 year, and then you start looking at okay, well, who do I need to be tomorrow? Who do I need to start being tomorrow in order to be that person at the end of my life? And then I would feel like my human experience here was a success, because that's what I want to be. That's how I feel like I need to be called to help millions of people to do these things. And then you just work your way backwards, and you start, number one, working towards that end goal. But number two, what you start doing is you stop doing the shit that's not getting you towards that, which is far more important. And a lot of people aren't cutting this stuff out. Is if that's what you want, if you want to be this weight, if you want to look like this, if you want to have done this, right? Well, who are you hanging out with now that is kind of preventing you from getting to that destination and being that person on your obituary? And your obituary may not be read when you're 85 years old. We're not all guaranteed to live that long.
Yeah.
So if your obituary is read sooner than that, you need to get on your horse.
Oh, without a doubt.
So that's kind of when it comes to the spirit and the journey that you were asking me about. That's kind of what I've been going through, and then it's about figuring out who do you want to be while you're on that journey too. And how do you want to love? How do you want to be remembered? The people that you want in your life, there's a reason you're in my life. You're going to be in my life for a while.
Yeah,
I hope.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. You're stuck with me, Chad.
I'm with you. So, but there's a reason for that, and I think that our souls have met in a previous life, and I think that we were initially kind of hit it off, and I think it's because we know each other, and so who do you want along with you on that journey too? And that's important. It's not always about just constantly leveling up. It's about the connections that you make along the way too.
One thing I look at too is I don't want to be anybody else essentially, right? But there's one thing when I focus on who I want to be, there's archetypes I imagine, maybe from history or whatever, who embodies this archetype that you want to live up to in essence, right? And obviously you're on your own path, you're not them, but I don't know, that's something I always try to think about. That's pretty cool and imaginatory with it. So, and also you talked about the people around you, and I do have an archetype that is but okay, back to Lord of the Rings. So Aragorn, that's works his way up. And my Lord of the Rings people, you know Aragorn. That's the archetype for me, because it's the most honorable, loyal, just he's spot on dude. But anyways, I can get into that. But the archetype thing's important, and you talked about the people you're around that are not allowing you to progress. And I think habits too, man, things you do with your off time. I think a lot of this stuff is very distracting. Nothing against video games. I just don't play video games because it doesn't, for me personally, it's not propelling me, right? And I understand the time and place, but habits and shit too. So
that's important. And I think there's at least one time during my 6 a.m. workouts with Joe that he brings up a Lord of the Rings reference and ties it to something that we're doing.
Dude, the Marvel thing in the video games, dude. He's always bragging on video games, bro.
I don't play video games either. I used to play video games, and you realize how much time I had to spend.
That's how I spent that. But here's my thing, devil's advocate on this.
We got kids.
I have my friends are all over the fucking country, and so that's how I
connect to them.
Yeah.
What do you play?
Call of Duty for the most part.
I used to fucking also Call of Duty.
For the most part,
I
haven't played video games.
So Saturday mornings, me and a couple of my buddies tried to get on. And just it's mostly the social component.
Yeah. Once you have kiddos, it's if you get spare time, you're trying to.
Yeah, well, and especially being an entrepreneur with kiddos. Well, it's because I had into the new Xbox, and I was I don't know. I thought something cool was going to come out that I'd play it. I hadn't played it. like once in 2 years, maybe.
Yeah.
And so I sold it I wanted to get this thing. So that was like my exchange is playing it right. But also, like, I was like, man, I'll hold on to it. Maybe there'll be someday, like, I'm just going to sit there and play if I don't have. And I'm, like, sitting there thinking, I'm like, dude, I already have, like, pretty limited time. And I just want to focus on my daughter and my woman, like, with that time I have. Because that's a lot more valuable. And if I'm disconnected for a few hours with that, I'm going to feel like shit.
Yeah. No, I mean, and if you're spending time on there with your friends, like I actually had one of those VR headset, the first Oculus thing that came out. So I did play video games more recently, but I think I played it a handful of times. But you can like sit at the poker table with your buddy,
right?
And like we played poker together, and he's like, you know, you have all the expressions, and you can like smoke a cigarette. It's got some cool stuff on there. I did play the headset for like a couple months, and I was like, dude, I could get lost in this thing. Dude. I started playing this other game, like this Population 1, where you like fly around and shoot, and it's like really immersive.
Yeah.
That stuff's really crazy.
Yeah.
Bro, we talked about the headsets earlier.
That headset, dude.
They're going to get people in those headsets and they're not going to want to leave. Because that shit's fun. I'm like, I got to put this thing down.
Yeah.
This is dangerous. I need to get to work.
I was going to
stop. I hadn't touched it yet.
Bring this up earlier, but we were talking about the headset thing. And there was a book that I read whenever I was when I was young. And I'd always think about it as this has grown. But basically, it's called Pendragon is the series. And he goes to like essentially different like realities. They're all like different Earths in a way. So like different things have happened, et cetera. And on one of them, there's like these pyramids, right? But like everything is like basically empty. Like everything's deserted. He's like, what the fuck's going on? He can't find anybody. And he's like, there's like no people. It's like not shit going on. And he finally like finds his way into these pyramids, and it's literally just shelves of people that are connected to like food and water, and they're just in virtual reality. Like all the pyramids are just shells of people. And then there's like, you know, whoever's left runs the actual world, essentially.
That's like, I mean, it's the concept of the Matrix.
Yeah,
that's why
it's
that scene where the thing going on,
and the pod things. Yeah.
That's what we're doing. That's essentially what's going on. And when you can't unplug from the Matrix unless you learn like some of the spiritual stuff that we're talking about. Because again, we're like back into the Matrix of it all, but it's a real thing. Like in there, that whole like red pill, blue pill thing. Like y'all need to take the red pill and realize kind of the whole thing that's being played that we're experiencing at a higher level, the stuff that's outside of our control is somewhat of a matrix that's kind of been created for us. And the way that the things that you see for a reason, like, and you got to start asking what's behind it. Because I think we talk about the control that the media has over the masses is starting to get sort of like the curtain pulled back and everybody's kind of feeling it like these people are full of shit.
There's an awareness.
Right. But there's a reason like all the messages are the way that they are. And, you know, it's just, you got to unplug from it so that you can see what's going on and then make conscious decisions on how you want to live your life, you know, and we are in somewhat of a matrix.
And that's why spirituality we are. And that's why spirituality is so important because that gives you something greater, right? And the more the matrix intensifies, the less of that there is. Like that, this is created to the matrix that we're in, right? It's just getting more intense only to pull us away from something higher and something greater. So, and if you eliminate that out of everybody's lives, then we're really screwed.
Yeah.
So,
you got about 10 minutes left.
Damn, I'm trying to knock you off the course. 10 minutes left.
That's it. Shit.
What are we going to cover?
I don't know. I do want to ask, man. Is there anything else you want to say? I feel you got something to say because you wrote down archetypes and some other stuff, but
yeah, some of it's just stories that if I decide if we get there or not, but no, nothing. I think. I don't know if you wanted to talk about like masculinity and kind of the war on that because that was What do you want to talk about?
I mean, at the end, I'm just going to ask you what your relentless pursuit is, man. That's just like a good finishing question. But like,
okay, we can start there.
You want to start there?
It's up to you.
All right, let's do it, bro.
You got anything else you want to
cover? Let's get into the masculinity part of it though, too. And
only got 9 minutes now, brother.
I want your perspective on.
Sorry.
Hit us with mental health, man, because I do want to say mental health's a big aspect of here. So. On this show, like it's something that's very important and something we push a lot because I think a lot of people need to focus on that because that's can set you towards success. But what's your take?
Well, I think when it comes to mental health, first thing we need to talk about because we're on a time crunch is just be really, really conscious of everything that you're putting in your body. Right now, because mental health is a lot of times directly related to gut health, and it's directly related to what you're consuming on a daily basis, both inputs from foods to also inputs from external stimuluses. But like mental health is a direct reflection. In my mind, I do believe that there's some chemical anomalies that do create like serious mental health, but a lot of stuff can be solved by controlling what you're putting into yourself.
Yeah.
And I think we're being poisoned right now, right? So everybody knows the seed oils that they're cooking with, right? Everything is kind of geared towards making you fat, lazy, weak, stupid, so they can then control you and sell you the drugs to make you not fat, lazy, weak, and stupid, right?
Yeah.
And that's the whole intention, right? It's a game. So if you break away and have independence of your health, right, and you don't choose not to use drugs and play those kind of games that require that dependency, then I think it just sets you up for having a little bit easier time to deal with the things that cause mental issues. I feel like the issues and stresses and things that weigh on us and create anxiety and create depression and create these things can a lot of times be solved if you just really start to control what you're putting in here. That's kind of my initial take on it. And there's a lot deeper people that understand more about it, like yourself, than I do. But just from that perspective.
No, 110%. You know what I mean? You talked about the oils and everything. I mean, even the water system and all, bottled water, all the shit.
It's making men less manly.
So you think about that. I mean, you look at testosterone levels as like a scientific example, but testosterone levels today.
Yeah.
What is the average? 20 years ago, that average was much higher. Before that time, the average is much higher. So they keep lowering the average. But to think about it, man. When you take a male and you eliminate his testosterone, his mind's fucked. Like you see what happens. I mean, I'm just saying, people's minds get a little crazy when they do, that therapy and stuff, and they pull that away because you're naturally supposed to have a good bit of that. And so, and that's one thing, like, I think it's big to, like, obviously eat the right foods in order to keep that at bay, but also do testosterone if you need to.
Yeah.
But, like, dude,
but why would they
you realize that
your
mental health is like on point. You feel better, you think clearer, your energy's better. But if they take that away, your mind's going to get all shitty, and that's what they want, though.
Yeah, like I was asking you, like, why do you think they want to have a population that's got lower testosterone?
Exactly,
because they're kind of easier to control.
If you don't
if
you can stop the fight from happening to begin with.
So we started looking into this, and what we believe is going on. My wife's big onto this too. Is like how many girls of the age from 16 to 30 are on birth control, and what they're doing is they're all going into the public utility systems.
I was talking to somebody about that.
And they're not filtering that stuff out. So there's a ton of estrogen that's actually in birth, like not estrogen, but the stuff that prevents women. So we're having infertility problems with our women, and then men are having less testosterone, which is very clear and abundant in society as you walk around. Like you got men that are just have no testosterone.
Yeah.
But there's a lot in the tap water and everything. They're finding that stuff is not being filtered out. Like some of the other stuff is being filtered out. So it's actually like it's poisoning the men. So you need to get that addressed, because I have less testosterone than my father. My father had less testosterone than his father. And like, that's a serious thing, because like, here's what we're seeing right now is a lot of these men are questioning whether or not they're even men, and they're taking drastic measures to make themselves not men. And then like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. What's the source of all this?
Let's find the root of the problem here.
Yeah.
And then solve it from the back end, which is, if you're a male, just make sure you're getting your testosterone levels checked and making sure you have the right amount, because we got to be primitives, we got to be savages, and we're men. Like, you got to be a man.
Damn right.
Yeah,
that's an important message, and that's something I think all the men check out Elite Aesthetics. This is a plug right there. But check them out.
And it's even important for the women too, because they're susceptible to that stuff too. If it's in that water too, and some of them are having infertility problems, and some of them also have some lower testosterone than what they should have too to feel good on a daily basis. So it's important all the way around. It's not just like this, man thing. Like, this is serious stuff. It's a family discussion. It's important.
Elon Musk said something really interesting on a podcast one time that everybody talks about how we have too many people. He said it's exactly the other way around. Yeah. He said we actually have a serious underpopulation. We're not replicating people fast enough.
Yeah, Japan's going the other direction.
Yep. They're I was reading about that.
Yeah, and because they have so many like elderly people compared to how many young people that they have
being born.
Yeah,
so they're going the other direction.
And somebody immediately was like, "That's not true. We have a overpopulation." He was like, "No, we have an underpopulation problem."
Yeah, Elon said that.
Yeah,
there's some people that want to depopulate the planet, so they think.
Billy?
Yeah, people think that we have too many people.
That's another one.
That one goes. It'll be interesting.
That's another one he said that was just said out loud.
We have a pretty cool 10 years, 20 years coming up, though.
Well, because the people think that because like everybody lives in these cities and they're all crammed into one place. So yeah, for a majority of people, it looks like that. We're like, dude, there's so overcrowded, but they drive out this way, man. A lot of land and stuff like that, But you can feed that illusion if you cram everybody together in these concrete jungles.
Yeah, well, and the reason why I was bringing that up really was to go to the testosterone issue, like long term. that's one of the issues that you'll have is not having children.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Go out.
Screw that.
Get yourself a nice piece of land and get yourself a little well for yourself, a little water filtration system.
Be good to go. At least better off.
Get yourself a couple chickens.
Yeah.
So while you're at it too.
That's what we're
Have some babies.
What time
Have
we're
some babies.
We got 3 minutes.
3 minutes. There's something else you said too. Shit. Can we make it there? I want to get them both in.
Go ahead.
All right.
Can do speed round.
Speed round.
Speed round.
What was the other thing you brought up? We said masculinity. Mental health. No, we lumped that in together. So with the time that is left,
We tied it all in, man. We did a good job.
Yeah.
Stayed on cue. It was good work all around.
yeah, best we could.
Good job.
Yeah.
We tried.
Good job, guys. So last question. What your goals? What is your relentless pursuit, Chad King?
2 minutes on the clock.
My relentless pursuit. Oh man, I mean, it's gonna sound a little corny, but it's to be the best version of myself, and to constantly be evolving into the next version that I think is a better, I to live every day better than I lived the last, and to win every day, one day at a time, and know that winning every day, if I just focus on that, I'm going to do really well, and I'm going to get to my goals, and I'm going to get to where I need to be, and I'm going to do so as a loving husband, a loving father, a loving friend, a businessman, and all the things that I want to be when I die. And I'm just going to focus on chipping away and winning every day and enjoying every single one. Dude. So I think, and I want to impact as many people as I can along the way. I'm a lighthouse, not a tugboat. I'm not going to come convince you that you need to live any kind of life, but if you want some information or you want to come see my light, I'm going to be shining it. So I'm just trying to do better than I did yesterday. And, one day at a time, baby, chipping away.
That's not corny, but I do think you got a lot of that from the Relentless Pursuit mission statement on the website, okay? Because that's based. No, I'm just kidding.
Read it word for word.
What I love about that
I didn't even read it if that was it.
No, but a lot of it's very on point with what I put out there and like the purpose of this brand, and I love that, man, because it's not corny at all, dude. That's the way to live.
Yeah,
you know
I'm with
you.
I think the fact that we connect so well together is because I basically just restated your motto, and I didn't even get a prompt to say it that way. So we know we're pretty aligned when I can just drop your motto.
Yeah, dude.
Reading it.
I love that. That's cool as shit. But I mean, no, not corny at all. That's the coolest way to be. I think that's a beautiful relentless pursuit, man. And thanks for sharing that.
Of course.
And
45 seconds.
Yeah, thanks for sharing everything today, Chad.
I
get to talk to you about this.
Sometimes I talk a little bit fast. I get excited. Plus we're in a hurry, but. Thanks for being here, bro. Obviously, we're going to have to set some more time aside here soon and do this again.